Good morning. So, Bitcoin and a large majority of cryptocurrencies are up today. And so, hey, we're off to the races again, right? We're going straight to $100,000 before the end of the year, right? Well, as I'm sure as you can see by the title of this video that I'm going to talk about, what are the chances that Bitcoin is going to $100,000 this year? And I want to tell you that this is certainly a hard shift. And this is what I do. I'm going to continue to do as I take in new information. And so, if that's not something that you're excited about or something that you're willing to do, then there's plenty of people who will stick to their convictions and ride those till the bitter end. I'm not going to do that. And so, for right now, and maybe I'll take in new information and change my mind again. But for right now, I see a very narrow path to $100,000. In other words, before the end of the year, 32 days from now, whatever it is, 33 days from now. In other words, I'm saying that I don't see a scenario where Bitcoin will hit $100,000 by the end of the year. Will Bitcoin hit $100,000 in 2022? I think that's very likely, and even higher than that. I think that's very, very likely, but there's some things that I'm looking at that I'm like, okay, look at what are people doing? What are they doing? And I think that can give us good information as to where we can go further. And so I want to talk about real quick, how did Bitcoin get from $29,000 to $69,000? This is a very simple chart, a weekly chart on TradingView. You can see the volume here. Look at the volume. Even, earlier this year, end of 2020, look at the volume end of 2020 in comparison to now. So this move from $29,000 to $69,000 was a low volume move. How did we get from $29,000 to $69,000? Well, first of all, in July 20th, we bottomed out and people thought we were going to $20,000 or lower, and we had a short squeeze. We had a pretty big short squeeze. I mean, look at the shorts in July. That is a large amount of shorts. July 19th, July 12th, there were a lot of people shorting the market, and they got squeezed out, which means that they had to buy Bitcoin. And I'm going to get back to that chart later to examine the narrow path, the one way that I could see us getting to $100,000. But I mean, volume is very low in comparison. People pointed this out to me all the time, and I was just like, it's time. When will the volume come? When retail wakes up, and retail is asleep right now. But even that run from $29,000 to $69,000, retail was asleep. And so we got there a combination of things, a series of short squeezes, two in July, a big one on October 1st, and then the momentum of these high expectations that were set by a lot of people, myself included, I'm not immune to that, drove us to $69,000, plus then that news on that one day when we hit $69,000 of inflation news and all that stuff, the CPI data. And so we got a little overheated because the volume it wasn't there. And back in July when we were at $29,000 and I was expecting us to go over six figures this year, the thing that I expected to happen was that the volume would pick up. In other words, that the whales would be like, yeah, this is where we're going. And so we're going to assist in driving the price up. And then we're going to be smarter than you, and we're going to exit faster. But that's not happening. That hasn't happened. And will it happen? It seems unlikely to me. And so here are the things I'm looking at. There's still, guys, trust me, there's a lot of positive signs in the market right now. I just think it's going to be a gradually and then suddenly type thing. And I understand, big adjustment. The thing that really had me sticking to my guns for a while, again, was expecting the volume to pick up, and it didn't. But that's okay. All right, so first of all, I tweeted this out on Saturday. I spent Saturday with this window open on my computer all day, pretty much for several hours, and I was staring at it and trying to make sense of it. So you can see the title here, Bitcoin Holdings in ETFs and Corporate Treasuries, and the yellow line is probably the most important one. This is everything. every ETF, every corporate treasury, and you can see that we peaked. So we peaked and then plateaued. It's so fascinating to me. Look at that peak and then that plateau. So peaked at about $862,000 around, or 862,000 Bitcoin around the time that Bitcoin peaked at $58,000 in late February, bottomed out at $43,000. Around that time, Bitcoin just plateaued. The amount of Bitcoin holdings in everything, ETFs and corporate treasuries, just plateaued. And so what's the deal here? Well, look at this. If you can see this dotted line here, this was largely driven by Grayscale acquisitions. And so Grayscale was accumulating at a very aggressive rate, and then they stopped. And so what happened when Grayscale stopped was that Grayscale traded at a historic discount. So Grayscale used to be pretty much perfectly correlated to the price of Bitcoin. And so corporate holdings would add Grayscale to their portfolios, and that would be their way of owning Bitcoin. Something happened at the end of February and early March where Grayscale just started selling at this massive discount. In other words, that Grayscale was underpriced in comparison to Bitcoin to where it should have been, and so they had to stop acquiring. I mean, they were going parabolic in their acquisition of Bitcoin, and then they just flat out had to stop. And that caused a lot of momentum to just stop as well. And so you can see here that Grayscale has been flat. I mean, all right, they have to release a certain amount, but it's a very small amount. So they peaked at 655,000 Bitcoin, and as of today, they own 9,000 less Bitcoin. Not a huge deal when it comes to corporate holdings. But then the entire market, you can see here, who is that? That's all corporates. All corporate holdings have been increasing at a pace that has offset that decrease in Grayscale. And there's been other holdings. You can see that there's Bitcoin miners that are corporate holdings as well. So since that March bottoming out when we peaked at $863,000 or Bitcoin before that plateau, we've gradually added. So 863, and as of now, the corporate holdings have increased by about 22,000 Bitcoin. That is not a significant amount. And I know this is only one small piece of the puzzle, but man, if that discount never came, Grayscale would have continued to acquire Bitcoin. And I think earlier this year, we would have gotten to $100,000 Bitcoin before having that first crash. And then we would probably be much higher with the price now, but something happened. The powers that be, I'm not saying that it's any kind of conspiracy or anything like that. Something happened where Grayscale just kind of lost its function. And so now they have to figure it out. They're trying to turn their holdings into an ETF, which would be another launch pad that will send us higher. But and so we are slowly climbing now. At some point, I don't know when, but at some point I would expect us, something similar to this again, where the corporate holdings just kind of go parabolic, but we have to be patient. And so, but this is just, like I said, a small piece of the puzzle, but this has established some kind of a floor along with other whale holdings, but even along with the minnows, I think that's the smallest kind of holding. So look at these two charts here. Bitcoin number of addresses with a balance of greater than 0.01. It's just been steadily climbing. Number 9 million addresses, more than 9 million addresses with a greater than 0.01 balance. People are accumulating, and they will continue to accumulate. Same deal here, but this is 0.1 instead of 0.01, but you can see something similar. Over 3 million addresses, it just keeps on climbing. Over 3 million addresses with more than 0.1 Bitcoin in their wallet. And so that's not an insignificant amount, but I'm trying to paint a picture here of we are right now having a slow climb, and that is perfectly fine. At some point, there will be more of a climb, and it'll go slowly for now, and it will accelerate. And so while we're having this slow climb, the price of Bitcoin is fluctuating, And I expect that the price of Bitcoin will fluctuate less unless we do have a blow off top. But I shared this chart on Friday in my Friday video. Picture an imaginary line, an imaginary trend line, a diagonal line from this March 2020 bottom to the, that it touched in July and then it maybe touched in September. There's an imaginary line. There is a floor that exists and there's a ceiling, but the floor is rising faster than that ceiling is rising. So this floor is somewhere right now, and I think it's pretty close to where we have been over the last few days. I don't know where that floor is, but there is a floor. There's a floor that is very, very heavily guarded, that is very strongly impenetrable aside from a black swan event. That floor might be at $53,000. Guys, we're not out of the woods yet. It might be at $50,000, at $48,000, but there is a floor and it is near where we are now. That floor is rising. In a month or two, that floor will be higher, but then we also have this ceiling somewhere in the $60,000 range. Maybe now it's in the $70,000 range. And so what I'm waiting for is the floor and the ceiling to meet, and for us to push through the ceiling. And if and when that happens, I mean, I don't want to say anything 100%, but let me just use the word when. When that happens, that will force the price of Bitcoin to go higher, and it might be a much higher dollar amount. But as far as December is concerned, yes, this is a hard pivot. I just think that we're just going to slowly climb in general, and maybe another slow climb in January. And then maybe at some point early 2022, we will have that blow off top, or maybe we'll just have a rounded top well over $100,000. I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, up is the direction that we're going. The general direction that we're going is higher. I am seeing, watch my most recent TikTok. It just has a sticker on it, whales. I am seeing whales. They were very eager to buy sub $30,000 in Bitcoin in July. And right now it seems to me like they're very eager to buy 50 something thousand dollar Bitcoin right now. And why? Because they see the floor. But let's talk about this one scenario, because there is a scenario where I could see Bitcoin going to $100,000 in December. Is it more than 50-50? I would say it's under 50-50 that it's going to happen. But if it does, this is how. And so I've talked about this chart here. Bitcoin USD shorts. Now, if you compare right now, the amount of shorts have increased as fear has entered the market. Naturally, the smooth-headed people who were longing at the top are now going to be shorting Bitcoin at the bottom, and so the number of shorts have increased. I know that pales in comparison to July of this year, in June as well. But I mean, think about this. We had a short squeeze on October 1st. And so where was the amount of shorts on October 1st? It was about here. So the amount of shorts, if you're paying attention to my mouse, the amount of shorts right now is about 50% higher than it was on October 1st. And we had a pretty significant short squeeze on October 1st that sent us up $25,000 in a span of 16 days. Now we have these shorts here, and it's entirely possible that they could be primed for a squeeze. And so not only that, but I've talked about the bullish divergence between illiquid supply rising and the price decreasing. And so I have the balance on exchanges chart here. It does continue to go down, and so we have this. This is not the illiquid supply chart, but they do go hand in hand. So balance is going down, but also price is trending down. So in other words, illiquid supply is rising, but the price is going down. That has the makings of a certain sort of supply shock. You combine that with the Bitcoin USD shorts, and there is some kind of a makings of a squeeze of sorts that can happen very soon. The thing that I'm skeptical about is, will that cause the volume to rise to an extent where just all the money's pouring in? My guess as of right now is no, but there may be some kind of insanity that could cause the price to shoot up like a rocket. And, but, all right, I made a video, and this is going to be my last thing before I'm done. I made a video a couple weeks ago talking about December exit strategies. Here's my plan. If I see Bitcoin above $70,000 or $80,000 in December, I know a lot of people are going to be expecting this blow off top. And what if it's just another thing like this? You know, $69,000 down to $53,000. What if now in December we go up to $80,000 and then back down to $63,000, something like that, and then we just slowly climb? What if? I'm going to get very conservative in taking profits if I see Bitcoin at new all-time highs in December. And would I recommend something similar? Well, this is for entertainment purposes only. This is not financial advice. Do your own research. But I do regret doing that, not doing that with certain things, like my KuCoin account. I shared about, I was up $4,000 on my Litecoin leveraged long. I didn't take any profits, and that $4,000 went down to $0. Now I'm up $1,000, something like that. And I learned a lesson from there. And I took profits on my Elrond position, which was up big. And then I opened a 2x long on Bitcoin and on Litecoin yesterday at pretty much the best possible time to do that. And so I'm thinking along those lines of why don't I take profits from that and maybe not hold it in Tether or in a stable coin, but put that into a 2x leverage long on Bitcoin, because especially now, you guys know, I mean, we held that line at $30,000 in July and from May to July. And I said that we were going to hold that line, and we did. And so with Bitcoin at $57,000, that I would expect us to hold that line again. So that position, I truly believe, will never get liquidated. So that's kind of along the lines of what I'm thinking. Take profits, maybe not put it into stable coins, put it into Bitcoin, put it into Ethereum, something like that. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I hope this all made sense. Would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. If you like this content, please smash up that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment in the comment section for the algorithm. Otherwise, I will see you in another video. Peace.